don't know. I don't really have much of an opening statement. Just try and learn from yesterday, take a few things and go into practice today. And, you get a couple of days here to try and focus on what you need to do for Wednesday's game. So it's about recouping, getting fresh, being as fresh as possible, being as sharp as possible. I think that's what these 2 days are about, just trying to be sharp as we can going into Wednesday's game, and just go out and have fun, man. That's it. That's the biggest thing for us.
Micah, when you kind of don't have, the postseason isn't looming as aggressively over you guys, does it allow you to play more free in sort of a tournament scenario?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can. It's, there's no real pressure, right? There's some people that are coming into this thing with some pressure, like, man, we have to win. Like, yeah, we have pressure of, like, we don't want our season to end. But you also, like, you get an opportunity to just go play and see if we can piece it together at the right moments. You go into this and you think, here in the Big Ten tournament, you look at how the season's gone for everybody this year. There's nobody that you go into the tournament and you feel like you can't beat. And there's nobody that you feel like you can't get beat by, right? This thing is like as up in the air as possible. There have been some years where you're like, man, I don't know if we can beat that team, right? Like Jared Solinger down there in the post with Diebler and Leidy and all those dudes around him, like Aaron Kraft. You're like, that team is rolling. They're going to be hard to beat. Like, Michigan State's gone in there a few times with some teams. You're like, wow, that's a great team. They're going to be hard to beat. There are really good teams in this league. But I don't feel like there's anybody that you're like, we can't beat that team. So, there's a sense of confidence, but also a sense of like anybody can come in here and beat anybody on any given night.
How you doing, Micah?
Great.
Obviously, I'm sure you're still very much in it, but I'm wondering if, after this weekend, if it were to come across your desk, if like a CBI bid or something like that is something you would consider this season.
I haven't really thought about it, just because of based on, I'm so tunnel vision. It's hard to focus on anything else. But this team's a little different, I think, than other teams. Some of those tournaments you play in if you want to get experience for a reason, right? Things like that. Like you got a bunch of younger dudes that like, hey, we got a chance next year to be really good. Let's keep playing. Let's get these guys experience and everything else. Our team's a little different, right? We're not really in that boat with younger guys that we need to get experience. Like our younger guys are getting some experience right now. We're just so old. I'd leave it up to those guys, right? If they want to keep playing, like I owe it to them to keep preparing and keep trying. If they want to keep playing, like I'd love to do it for them and with them. But our team's so different than a normal team. You kind of leave it up to their hands of those older guys that, we got a bunch of fifth-year guys, so it's hard to determine right now.
Mike, given kind of the emotional swings of the past week, basically from the Northwestern game to now, how have you kind of seen the team handle it, and where do you think they kind of are after yesterday going into this week from an emotional standpoint?
Yeah, that's, even before, like, I went and talked to them after the game in the locker room. That was one of the things that I talked about with our staff is we need to be in a great place leading into this tournament. It obviously hurts, right? Like losing games like that, that are close like that, when you fought like that. But I've talked about it before. I don't know if you can really comprehend it when you're 18 to 23 years old. But when you put your best effort out there, you can be okay with the results. Like I felt like we did that. We didn't play well the entire game, but you can't fault our effort, how we played in the second half. It was such a tough environment early on that we were a little bit rattled. And but we got through it. We fought through it, and then the way we played in the second half, like I felt like those guys, even though we made mistakes, we put forth a good effort. So I think they can be okay with the results because they did everything possible, right? Nebraska, you can't be okay with that result. Indiana, you're not okay with that result. That's not who we are or how we normally play. You know, Illinois and Rutgers that's who we are. That's how we normally play, and we gave it our best. And sometimes you give your best and you still come out, you know, on the wrong side of things, but you can feel pretty good about it. So that's what I'm gonna talk to them about. Right? You know, give your best and give yourself a chance, and then you can live with the results. But also there's optimism of let's play our best and see if we can flip some of these games to the winning side here this weekend.
Micah, I think any conversation about Seth has to start with his defense and how well he's played there. But offensively, can you put your finger on why there are certain games where he's kind of in attack mode, like yesterday or maybe the Iowa game here, but then there's been some stretches where he's not taking the ball? Is that the defense? Is that him? What's going on there?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I don't think it's him as much, right? I think, you know, the defenses are designing ways to try and take him away, doing different things to take him away. You know, so that's something that, you know, we've continuously had to work on and do different things to help him in those areas. You know, he was banged up for a little bit as well. You know, he still continued to play, right? There's nothing. Everybody's kind of banged up, but he was hurting for a little bit. So there was a stretch there where, you know, he didn't do a whole lot. But like it was a struggle for him. Like he sat out a bunch of practices and wasn't practicing, wasn't playing. You know, that throws your rhythm off. Where you're just going game, rehab, game. Right, you're not getting the same reps. You're not working on the same things in practice every single time. So, yeah, I think that threw him off a little bit during the stretches too. But you're starting to see some better things from him. I thought he attacked more under control yesterday. Made some good passes. Got to the lane and finished under control. You know, I think about the play late where he drove and played off 2 feet and jumped up and shot that little short floater in there. So, you know, I think he's developing at a pretty good rate, but I still think there's more work to do, and there's areas that, you know, we want to try and work on, you know, to continue to help him, continue to get him to be better attacking, reading defenses, adding to his assist totals, finishing more at the rim. So, you know, there's areas of growth there, and you know, he's open and willing, you know, to receive coaching and continue to get better.
Micah, how do you feel that you guys match up against Minnesota, and what are the keys to beating them on Wednesday?
There's such a offensive kind of minded group that you have to be at your best defensively. You know, obviously, Jameson Battle, Peyton Willis can both go and score 30 points at any moment, at any night, right? They both are confident, they have freedom, they have the ball in their hands a lot. So that, like, they just pose a challenge, right? Anytime somebody's got somebody that has that firepower offensively, it poses a challenge. But the other guys have had moments, like Luke Lowy scored big numbers in different games. E.J. Stevens is the same exact way. Curry killed us in game 1. So those other guys have stepped up and really helped them. So it's not like you can't just focus on those 2 guys and then not guard the other guys. Like, the other guys are so capable. So it puts an onus on, not just your best defenders, right? Like Jalen Pickett and Seth Lundy are gonna have their hands full because they got 2 really good guys. But like, we need Dalian, Greg, Miles, John, like, whoever else is playing. They all got to be ready because those other guys are capable, and that's who beat us up there. Luke Lowy, Stevens, Curry, like, that's who beat us. It wasn't the other 2 guys. They had great nights, but those other 3 role players that played for them, that's who beat us. So we have to be locked into what those guys do and really take that away.
Micah, how is it different preparing for a team that you would be playing for the 3rd time in a season than it is even the 1st or 2nd time? Obviously, the potential first 2 opponents, Minnesota and Ohio State, would both be, the 3rd matchup between you and them.
Yeah, it's the Minnesota games were pretty close, so they're kind of fresh in your mind in terms of what you need to do. You can look at the Northwestern game from last night, or other games at Maryland the other night that they've played, but your 2 games are so fresh that that's what you go back to watch more than anything else. Here's how we attacked each other. Here's how we tried to guard each other. What worked, what didn't, what will they go to when they see like what we struggled with, what do we try and do against them. You think about other games that are further apart, right? It's harder. Like, I can't look ahead, but like if we played Ohio State, like we played them December 5th, like it's 2 completely different teams. Like, so you could throw that like out the books in terms of that. So when you get to this moment, it's when you play these games in the Big Ten tournament, it's about being the sharpest that you can be, and then trying to take away what they do best and make them go to their second thing. No matter who you play, nobody has time to really put together a really detailed, deep game plan unless you're playing on Thursday and Indiana, Michigan State, and Maryland, right? Because they know right now they play on Thursday and they know who they play. Everybody else, they got to wait, right? You're sitting and waiting. It's like, think about the teams with the double buys that play on Friday. They have no idea who they're playing. So they're worried about themselves and they're trying to, like, somebody's doing some work on each team, but like, how much stuff can you do? It's like a waste of time. I had to wait till that game was over last night. We had 2 opponents to try and prepare for, and I had no idea until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. You just do as much as you can, but you have to focus on yourself. You have to focus on your team and being the sharpest that you can and playing at your best during that moment.
The last question, Dave.
Micah, just sorry to rewind a little bit here, but you had a lot of good things to say about Rutgers post-game yesterday, and I'm just wondering if there are things, considering where that program was and where it is now, that you can take from what Steve has done and what that program is and apply here, just kind of big picture.
Yeah. No, I like, I remember watching, Rutgers. Eddie Jordan was before Peichel, I believe. Like, there was nobody in that gym. Like, I watched, I was probably in the NBA I had to be. But I'm watching them play Purdue. I'm looking at the crowd. Like, man, ain't nobody there, right? And they were getting blasted every single night. Ron Harper talked about it. Maybe it's Geo Baker. Last night he tweeted, like, my first year in the league, they were the 14th seed. They won 3 games. And now his senior year, they get the double bye. it's, you know, there's things that you take from every program, but how he's built it and what he's done is he took guys that fit him, right? And he took guys that fit, like, kind of the Rutgers, like, let's build it around a certain brand. Tough-minded dudes that, if you think about New Jersey, I'm from the Midwest, so I don't want to offend anybody, but if you think about New Jersey, you think about tough, right? Like, one of the things you think about, and like, that's their style of play, that's their brand, that's who he's recruited. And then he found some guys that were kind of under the radar, like, you know, Geo Baker's from up in the Northeast, New Hampshire or something like that. It wasn't like, I don't know this for a fact, because once again, I was in the NBA, but I don't think there was a bunch of people beating down Geo Baker's door to come get him. But Steve Beichel didn't care about anybody else's thoughts on who he recruited in terms of what kind of players they were. They fit him. They fit him, and then he built around that group, and now they're seeing the success of that. But they also, like, people stuck with him. They stuck with him, and their fans, like, they're being rewarded for that now. So, like, just the way he's building it, just his style, like, being okay with being ugly every once in a while. But I said it yesterday, I'm all about winning. That's all I really care about. I care about our guys. I care about, you know, if they're getting a great education here, all the things that they can do here. Like, I'm all for them and them having success. But I care about winning. Whether it's ugly, pretty, however, we have to get the job done. That's what we're going to do here. And we're going to find guys that fit that style, that are tough, that are competitive, that are great teammates, that are great students, that love basketball. I'm going to find those guys. I'm going to recruit those guys, and those guys are going to carry us to some great things here.